I'm going to begin by asking you both what it was initially that just attracted you to this project.
Well, I'll go first. It was mainly, there was two things. Ben, the director, who I admired his work. I think he's a very talented man. He's a very different director to the ones I'd worked with. His work was very different and very identifiable. And then I picked up this script and started reading it, and as soon as my eyes opened a little wider when I got to reading my character, and I was thinking, holy shit, this character, this is an insane trip. I want to be part of it. So that was it, really.
Mm-hmm. The same. I'd been an admirer of Ben's work, and Jeremy Thomas, I think, makes films that no one else makes. The cast was amazing. The part was weird and kind of detached and interesting, but really it was Ben. I think he's such a talent.
Well, his films are sort of a breath of fresh air. Jesus,
Yeah.
Still early in the morning-ish. So it's kind of audience members. I mean, when we see one of his films coming out, we're kind of like, oh, great, this is going to be really different and creative. I imagine that must be the case for you guys when you sort of receive that script and think, what could this possibly sort of behold?
Yeah, you can't imagine that this book could be a film. And I think there is only one filmmaker that could really, do it justice, I suppose. And Ben has managed to make the film of this book in an absolutely authentic way. I mean, it's the same energy and the same vibe. It's a real experience working with him as well.
He creates a world, There's not many directors that can do that. This film lives in a world that is long gone. It was like the 70s, and he dropped us into a well-furnished, perfectly detailed environment. The energy, the sound, the music, the look, it all worked very, very well, and that was down to him and his amazing team of set designers and costume and makeup and cameramen and all those clever people that made this film feel absolutely period of that time, and the energy of that time as well was very clear, I thought.
Because it's an incredibly ambitious project. I mean, this has been called the kind of unfilmable book. Is this a real case of putting your
Not anymore.
Not anymore, it's not. I mean, it must be a real case of putting the faith in the director. And is that always one of the most kind of nerve-wracking aspects of your job, is sitting down for the first time to watch the movie and see how their vision's kind of being realised? Because all you've got is kind of the experiences on set.
For me, I don't really tend to think too much about the finished product. I know that's probably selfish, but it really is more about the experience of making it. And I think I've been definitely much more careful about choosing the directors and focusing on who they are and what they've done. So you trust them. I don't want to work with someone I don't trust, and have been only working with people that I trust from now on. So whatever their vision is, even if, for me, this film was so insane and such a kind of bombardment, and I came out feeling sick and in all the ways that you want to feel at the end of something like this. And that's Ben's vision, and I trust him, implicitly.
Because, there is an intense sort of darkness that lingers over this project. Was that something you got a sense for on set, or was that very much something that's been kind of added in post-production?
It's in the book. It's in the book. It's
definitely.
All over it.
Yeah.
Prophetic and dark and, dystopian and everything. You come out of this and you ask questions. You put yourself in that high rise. I think it's great to see a film that actually does leave you with something and makes you think. I mean, you don't forget this film, do you?
No, you certainly don't. No, it's very unusual.
So if you were living in this particular tower block, who do you think your closest ally would be?
Wilder.
He's the man. I think as crazy as he is,
until he gets,
and as mad as he ends up, and there's a lot of sanity to him, and there's a lot of truth and purity to his idealisms, and I think that's interesting, because you for this first impressions you'd think him very different and a man of his own. He's not interested in anybody else, but I think he cares about who he is and what he represents and where he's from and what level of floor he exists on and what he feels his people and his life and his children and his family are entitled to. There's a lot of good to him, although, as the film progresses, you see the cracks start to appear, but even at his most brutal and craziest moment, there's still a moment of sanity. There's this wonderful scene between him and Tom's character Lang, and you see two men from very different walks of life, very different classes of society. At one point, one's going up, one's going down, and then one moment they just plateau and they just have this eye-to-eye moment, and you hear two people talking incredibly sanely about where they are, who they are, what they represent to each other, inside this circus of craziness around them. It's a very interesting film. Like you said, it makes you question yourself and who you would respond to, who you relate to, and how you would respond in that situation. So,
because Luke, you've got Beauty and the Beast coming up, which is, I imagine, is slightly less dark than High Rise.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's almost the same.
I was just wondering how that project sort of experience was for you, and also what we can kind of expect, because whenever you get a sort of another adaptation of such a renowned story, it's interesting to know the kind of unique angle it's taking.
Well, I think Bill Condon, the director, and Disney didn't want to rock the boat too much. There's an amazing animation that I remember almost word for word as a child, seeing it for the first time in the cinema. We're trying to tell that story. We're telling that story, adding a few magical moments that you couldn't do in animation, that you can do in live action. But apart from that, I'd say most people are going to be completely absorbed into a memory, and it's going to be the most beautiful experience. I've been lucky enough to see a very, very early screening where there's a lot of work still left to be done, but I didn't want it to finish. It's like being in the theatre. It's breathtaking.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey You Guys!